Money or love? When my father first had a stroke, my initial reaction was not whether or not my dad was okay, but instead it was on how much money I was going to miss out on if I did not show up to work that day. Before you judge, let me explain. The day before the stroke, I was at work and our car, my husband and I, our car broke down in the middle of the parking lot. And I later learned that the car needed to be towed to my mechanic, which was across the city. And I already anticipated that I was going to spend over $100+ to get this car towed. So when I got a call that Friday morning that I needed to show up because my father was not well, my immediate reaction was panic or the financial problem I was going to be in if I did not show up to work. Because in addition to having to spend $200+ or so to tow the car to the mechanic, the last thing that I needed today on this Friday was to miss out on more money by not showing up to work. So unfortunately, when I did get that phone call that Friday while I was at the kitchen, I was washing dishes, and usually Fridays I have more of a shorter work schedule. So I was really excited to wake up this Friday to get ready, do some cleaning in the kitchen, to be able to take my time, go get an iced coffee and go to work. When I got the phone call that my father needed to be taken to the hospital, I was in complete shambles for a moment. And quite honestly, I hate to admit this, and I'll talk about this in a different video, which I will link to this video. I was a bit hurt. I was just like, I've worked so hard. And this Friday is what I was looking forward to just be able to take some time, get this car handled, and also be able to just work a shorter work day and be able to have some time to myself. So I was very much also stressed out about the financial impact about being able to take this time to go to the hospital, which I did not anticipate will happen on this day. And I remember I was going back and forth, and I feel like my conscience was saying, hey, forget work, go take care of your dad. But at the same time, my financial pockets were like, we actually need to go to work today. So I did what I always do, and that is to call my husband, who was at work as well. And I called my husband because I call him for literally every single thing. And I called my husband, I explained the situation, like, babe, I got a phone call that daddy needs to go to the hospital, but I need to go to work, that we need the money, and I don't know what to do. And I'm so thankful, so thankful for my husband, because he said, babe, go see what's going on. And when my husband said go, I went. So I remember I finally made it to my dad's place. And when I made it to and initially I was thinking about calling the Uber for my father. This is before I spoke to my husband. And when my husband said he think it was best for me to go, and I actually reached to my dad's place. When I got there, and cause for me, I thought, it was nothing crazy, right? At that moment, we're not confirmed that it was a stroke yet. So when I got to my father and I tried to lift my father up to go to the hospital, immediately the guilt just swept over me because my dad could not walk. So the stroke caused his leg to not be able to function, so he couldn't walk. And I remember us slowly trying to help him go into the car, and it kind of broke my heart that, oh my gosh, my father literally needed me today, and I was more worried about the financial means of my life than I am of just running to go see what was going on. And truthfully, when I saw my father, I immediately thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if daddy had a stroke. And at this point, being an African father, he had not even thought to himself that he had a stroke. He just thought something happened to his leg. But I thought, is it possible that my dad had a stroke? And grant you, I am not in the medical field, even though most of my friends and my best friends are in the medical field. But I had a mentor close to me who had a stroke recently. So even though I did not see this mentor of mine go through the process of it, for some reason, I kind of saw some of the things my dad was dealing with when I picked him up for the hospital. And I thought, is it possible that he had a stroke? But let's be honest, when I was in the hospital, I was still in some kind of panic mode. When a doctor came and told us and confirmed that my father indeed had a stroke, I went in more panic mode. This time, it was not about me missing work, but it was about what would have happened if my father was to pass away. What would have happened if my father was, and I thank God for mercy and grace, because my dad was not in any pain. he could still talk normally. And the only thing that really happened was that his right leg could not work. But stroke could have very detrimental consequences. So I started wondering in panic of what would have happened if my father was to pass away. And this is going to get more into the meat of what this video and this message that I want to communicate with you is about. And I was so scared because funerals are not expensive. And I'm going to sound like such a selfish brat, but I want to be very honest, because when we do not have our financial ducks in a row, some of the little things that, when we do not have our financial ducks in a row, some of the things that we should be prioritizing, we don't end up prioritizing. And I talk about this in another video that I love for you to watch. And I'll try to link that video. I can't remember the title of it exactly. I'll try to link it as well. But when we do not have our financial ducks in a row, the things that we should be prioritizing, we don't end up prioritizing those things. So while I was in the hospital, my father was laying on the bed waiting for the doctors, and hospitals. So we were in the hospital for the entire Friday, unfortunately. I started sitting there searching for insurance. I was looking into not just insurance, but is there any insurance who will, even for $5,000 or $10,000, be able to give an elderly person life insurance? If my father was to pass away and we are not in the financial means to be able to take care of the funeral expenses, how would we be able to do it? Does the government cover part of it? What would the government do if someone doesn't have assets, etc.? So I was in the hospital panic mode of what would have happened if my father, God forbid, really was to pass away, right? My dad doesn't have insurance. My husband and I, we just got married. We are trying to get our lives in order. He's in school. My husband is in school. We're trying to pay off some debt and trying to get some things done. So by God's grace, we can start having a family. So there are all these things that I was so scared, right? We did not have the financial means to be able to just cover funeral expenses in America. So it was a true fear that I was sitting in. I was sitting in the hospital, and I wish I could have just been more present and be there for my father. But all my thoughts were, God, thank God he, the stroke things went well, but God forbid he have another stroke. What if something happened? My dad is 80 years old. What if, in the next, God know how many years, what if my dad passed away? So all these things, and you can hear it in my voice, and there's just so much anxiety as I sat in the hospital room. But while I was sitting in the hospital room, it also really hit me. I was literally worried about the wrong thing. And it's not even that was a wrong thing, but in the grand scheme of things, the financial stress, the funeral expenses were the last things I should be worried about in that moment. And quite honestly, I felt like a terrible daughter who was more worried about the financial consequences of what was happening than the fact that her father was not well. And sometimes that does happen. When you do not have all your ducks in a row, your mind goes to the financial means more than the love that you have for someone who you care about. And the thing is that maybe you, to some extent, have experienced something like this before. We know when we're going through things like that, we know and we understand that really being present and caring for our elderly parents or someone who's ill or someone who just love and care about, being more present for them, we know that being more present is the most important thing. But the financial insecurity is a real thing. Financial insecurity is scary as heck. I've experienced it, and maybe you've experienced it as well. And if you're not financially secure, the day-to-day of needing to pay bills, needing to show up to work and be able to make money starts to take a higher priority over the people who you love and care about. Our finances or lack thereof can severely impact the way that we show up for the people that we love and even for ourselves. And the truth of the matter is that if I had a more financial stability or more financial cushion, I would have immediately taken that time off, or for at least taking a day or more off to go and show up for my dad and make sure that I was there for him. But to be honest, even though I was not able to show up for my dad as much as I wanted to and be more present, I am so grateful that I have been blessed with an income to be able to go to work, make some money, and even be able to go to the store to take care of my father and get some clothes for him while he was at the rehab or even at the hospital. And I am so grateful for my circle of support. I am so grateful for my husband who has really been there for my father, our father, through marriage, through this entire time and this entire process. And I'm also so thankful to my friends. I am so grateful for my girls because they have allowed me the capacity to be able to show up for my dad, and they have checked on me. They have checked on me to make sure that, I'm okay in the process. They have checked on me to make sure that, to let me know that they're praying for me and they're praying for my dad, and they've checked on me to make sure that I'm okay and I'm being taken care of. And I'm so thankful too for my friend, one of my really good friend too, who will call me and check on me and also pray on the phone with me as well. So I'm so grateful because in this season I've realized more than ever the importance of having healthy relationship throughout your life. It has proven to be one of the most essential part of how I've been able to deal with this unfortunate circumstance of my father having a health scares. And the thing is that not only am I grateful for the friendships that I've had in this season too, and the healthy relationship at home with my husband and with my friends, and also with my church support system, and also at work, but I've really realized the importance of what healthy relationship and healthy environment is for our job places. I remember my husband and I, we were driving when we picked my dad up and we dropped my father to the rehab. My husband and I, at some point, we were going to go visit my dad. And it's interesting how my husband and I think sometimes, because I have been thinking about something that I had not said out loud. But my husband happened to think of the same thing. And that is when we were driving to go visit my father, we got right on the campus. And my husband was driving and he says to me, can you imagine if you were at your previous company? He said the company's name. Can you imagine if you were at your previous company in the middle of your father having a stroke? And it's so interesting because I had thought about that over and over. And I worked at a company where I really felt like I was just constantly survival mode. And I just thought, God, I cannot imagine I can't imagine if I was still at this company in the middle of my father having a stroke, where I was constantly being stressed out, constantly feeling like I was in survival mode. I just could not picture what life would look like. And I genuinely was so scared that if I was still at that company, I definitely probably won't be able to show up for my father, right? And if I did, I would not show up as a happy daughter, and I would show up as a seriously stressed out, and maybe even worse than what I showed up as. So I am so grateful that God exited me out of that company before the stroke of my father could happen. Or even one of the things that I thought about too was when I was in a previous relationship where, I share about this in an upcoming video, where I was in a previous relationship and this person I was with would not even allow me to even have relationship with the people that are close to me that I love. And I imagine, man, like, imagine if I was still with this individual, with this guy, and my father had a stroke. This person completely inhibited my ability to even drop my father to work. When my father was walking all the way to work for over 45 minutes plus. And I'm just so grateful because I just kept thinking about all the things that, like all the healthy and toxic relationship and toxic environment that God had really just exited me out of. And I'm just so grateful that all of those things were put to an end. The unhealthy relationship, the unhealthy work space was pretty much put to an end before we could get to this place in my life where I needed to be there for my father in this type of way. So I've really truly learned in this season that not only that your money stress does hurt your mental health, but that also be in the right space mentally, being in the right space with your relationship, all those things really do matter a lot. So there are a couple of things that I want you to walk away with from this video. And one of them is to get your financial affairs in order before crisis strike. Do not wait for crisis to force your hand to get your financial affairs in order. And whether or not you're someone who have kids right now or you don't, it's so important. Or whether you're somebody who's in your 50s watching these videos, or late 40s or 60s, make sure you get financial affairs in order. And there's some basic things you can do that honestly don't even cost that much. And it's so important to do those things so that, God forbid, something happens to you, your loved ones will be more focused on caring for you versus being more concerned about the financial aspect of things. The next thing that I want you to take off from this video is, although financial security is essential, One of the things that's the most important in your life, and I want you to really take seriously, is healthy relationships in your life. And I'm talking healthy relationships with your significant other, with your friends group, with people who you are in community with, whether that's like through your church, etc., professionally. Those healthy relationships will really play a significant role in your life. The last thing you want is to be going through a major life crisis while dealing with people who are so toxic for you and for your mindset as well. And for me, I'm very huge on being able to build legacy, but I also do understand that for us to be able to build legacies that we are proud to pass on to the next generation, we need that space to be able to create those legacy. And part of that, having that space, is having healthy relationships that are supportive, that also push you to prepare and propel you into what you are called for, because you really can now move forward into greatness when you are being pulled by all these unhealthy and toxic relationships. So make sure that you do whatever you can to shift away from all these unhealthy relationships. And I have other videos, and I have other videos that are coming up that really deal with the topic of building healthy relationships, breaking away from unhealthy relationships. And I realized I did not introduce myself. My name is Momo, and I create content for them. I create content for ambitious women who at some point in their life are currently are going through toxic and abusive relationships. And these women are people who want to actively build healthy relationships that they are proud of to pass on. So if that sounds like you, or that sounds like someone who you know, or a girlfriend or coworker, please send them this video or send them one of my videos. And I love for you to subscribe and like this video. Subscribe because I love for you to know more of my contents that come out, more of my videos that come out, because I truly believe that as women who are ambitious, we need a community of other ambitious women with hearts who can challenge us and educate each other of how to do better, for not just for ourselves, but for the next generation. Now, if you are a woman who is ambitious and want to build healthier relationships, and you know that is something that you really desire, then I want you to understand that for you to be able to really step away from all these toxic relationships, it starts with being able to identify what healthy relationships look like and what they don't look like. And what they don't look like. And I put together a template where it covers 10 signs of healthy and toxic relationships. So this template will really help you to understand, okay, is this romantic relationship I'm in, is it healthy or toxic? Is this job is this my relationship with my boss? Is it healthy or toxic? My relationship with my friend. So my point is that be able to identify healthy or toxic relationships. It's not just in your romantic life, it's in your friendships, it's with your boss at work, with your colleague at work, with that maybe that neighbor, or with your own family member. So I want you to go in the description below and download the 10 signs of healthy and toxic relationships. And I promise you this is gonna be a blessing to you. So take a look at it and share with someone who you love and care about too. And I hope that you can share what I talk about on this channel with your friends, and hopefully it'll be a blessing to them.